Q&A time on the CU podcast.
I'm going to ask.
Okay.
Hey, Pat. This is from Random Number Guy.
Random Number Guy.
Get Tommy Tallarico on the show to talk about Intellivision. Tongue face.
I guess he means the Intellivision Amico, which is what I spoke about last week on the podcast. They released a new trailer. You know, Ian, that it's a family console trying to bring families together and people play in the same room. That's families
together. Same room. Families together.
So, Tommy we love Tommy Tallarico, Finger Cage Tommy Tallarico.
I got along with him.
He's a fine fellow. Talked about Color Dinosaur songs with him before. Whenever we talk about this, he obviously doesn't agree with our assessment of what's going on with the console. So and sometimes I think I screwed up the price. I think it was between like $200 and $250. It's actually supposed to be like $180 at most or something. But before taxes and shipping, by the way, so this is gonna be a $200 console probably, if it comes out. So besides that, though, he usually disagrees on his assessments, and I think he posted a reply I saw on Twitter. It disappeared. I didn't block it or get rid of it. It might have been hit by spam because there was a link. I don't care enough. I really don't care enough. I don't care enough. But we don't like talking to people to give them a platform if we think it's going to be basically an infomercial. Correct?
Yes. Which is, I believe, what, and this is no disrespect to Tommy, but when you are doing this sort of product, and especially if there's always a counterpoint to what we're saying, yes, it comes off as though it would be an infomercial to sell a product on the podcast. My question with this always is, though, is at least personally, my assessment of the Amico has never been particularly negative. I don't think it will necessarily do very well. Because it's one of those things where like people within the industry there's a handful of people who are excited about it. Mostly like 40 and 50-year-old gamers who are looking back, and they're like,
sure,
this could be cool. I like the Intellivision name. I don't think there's anything wrong with making a console that appeals to family. I don't think there's anything wrong about making a console that wants to be multiplayer focused. I don't think there's anything wrong about it having its exclusives or having the games cheap or anything like that. I just don't see the market for it. That's not an attack on the item. I've even said before, because I think it looks kind of cool in a neat toy sort of way, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to say, yeah, I think this is great, it's going to do awesome, everyone look forward to it. We've covered a number of false consoles, and I'll say it right now, if it does fine, I'm not going to have any problem telling Tommy, hey, good job, it did fine, but I'm not going to just fall in a line and be like, yes, this looks great, I have no concerns with it. And
why don't we do that? Well, first of all, we don't believe it. We're not going to say things we don't believe. Second of all, we don't. I guess this is why people love and hate us. We don't care if people have a problem with our opinions about this, but unfortunately or not, in these situations, Ian and I have a pretty damn good track record when it comes to our predictions of these things.
Yeah,
we just do, and that's the saying we're geniuses. We just sort of see where the waves are going in terms of where these products end up. And that's even before, obviously, dumpster fire trash like the Retro Sigma, for example. I'm not even talking about that. But the problem is, and this is the reason why we're not sending a lot of stuff early, a lot of products early, a lot of these Kickstarter stuff, is because we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're just not. And we also don't do these interviews because I don't care about having the cachet of talking to someone like Tommy Tallarico. Not to say Tommy's a good guy. I just don't need to talk to him. And that's what some of these YouTubers get drug in. They're like, oh, I'm going to talk to someone and have them on my YouTube channel. And then they're okay with that, but they're not going to necessarily press the person on the product or even be skeptical. And that's a problem because if there's not a market for it, if the product comes out, we always said this about the Coleco Chameleon. The worst case scenario wasn't it being a scam. The worst case scenario was it coming out, people buying it, and then within like 3, 4, 5 months, the environment was gone, and now all these people are out of their money, and then they have a shitty piece of trash in front of them that they can't use or don't want to use anymore.
Right.
That's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is that something like the Amigo comes out, and it might have, a little push at the front. But then what happens when the developers realize, I can't be exclusive, we're not selling anything here. Then you have no new, more exclusive games. The market, the ecosystem just disappears.
What concerns me with the Amico is it will come out. It needs to do very well at launch to keep anyone developing exclusive games
and to attract new developers.
And if it doesn't, then what I see is unexclusive mobile games coming to it, and then people lose interest in it because there's nothing unique about it anymore.
And their mobile game quality.
It looks like another Ouya.
At least with the Ouya, though, there was some cross-platform games on the Ouya, correct? Was it all? It was. There was some exclusive.
No, there were some cross-platforms. I'm not saying that it would just be. I'm saying at that point it would start to look like an Ouya if they.
Yes.
If they had to pull in other stuff.
And there were developers though that tried to be exclusive on the Ouya that took a bath because of that, because that ecosystem just disappeared completely, and it was a mess to store, and they didn't.
I have a friend who made a game. It was a good game, and it was originally Ouya exclusive. Now, he had always had the intentions to put it up on Steam later, but I mean, he knew that was a risk, and I don't think it paid off very well.
So the Ouya, going back to this, and I'm sure they sold them after the fact, but the Ouya had over 63,000 backers, 63,000 people that got it, and that couldn't keep that afloat.
What does the Amico have?
There's no.
Oh, that's right. There's no Kickstarter.
They're going to try to get they're trying to do it themselves and come out, which is admirable.
Right, yes. It is, and I'm glad they're not trying to string anyone along. Like I said, this sounds bad because I don't have that many issues of it. What I have an issue with is the fact that I can't make my own opinion on what I've seen. Talking about it isn't going to necessarily change me. I'm looking at the business aspect of it and what we've seen before, and this is just simply my opinion.
And the demographic, like I said, if you listen to me talk about it, the demographics is like 15 years off. That's the only thing too. This is more like going to be your grandparents or older uncle's family system, not a millennials family or Gen Xers families.
It comes out and kicks ass. I'll play Fishing Derby.
Yes,
I'll play Fishing Derby all day long.
This is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say. I would rather, if you really want to push, when you're really pushing a console with exclusives, you're really pushing the games. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The system is immaterial. It's the games you're selling. So you're not going to do it. But my advice to Tom and everyone would be push the games. That's where you make your money anyway. You don't make the money. The console's where all the risk is. Why not push the games? Come out with your remastered Intellivision games, which they tried to do before in a Kickstarter. Remember years back? We talked about it, and it failed miserably because one was already out on the App Store or whatever.
I think that was a different group of people.
It was a different group of people, but they did it. They did it. Why not put out on Steam? Put out on your phone. Try to get it put out on the Switch, an Intellivision remaster pack, and just see how it sells. Like, why limit yourself to hoping people buy the console when probably most of the profit's going to be selling the games? I just don't understand it from a business risk. I just don't understand it.
Well, and I think that's where some of the disconnect really comes in, though. Multiplayer and family games and playing games as a family is a great idea, but you don't need a special console to do that. You need the right games to do that. This whole the console thing, I think all the games ideas, I think that's great. That's right. Make all these games that are focused on multiplayer, bite size, family friendly. But the whole aspect of making it a new physical console, especially when all the games are going to be digital, that's very much just going after the old school 40s to 50s collectors market. There's a big disconnect there. The goal in what that is, they seem different. You don't whatever. You don't need the console to do the games.
I really don't want to be right on this one, but I have to go with my gut when it comes to this. That's the only thing. That's what I'm going to end it at. Like I said, I wish them luck. I don't want it to fail, but if it fails, there's going to be a lot of people out of money, and there's going to be a lot of people that bought this potentially that they're going to get their month or two of fun. They're going to get a handful of games that come with it. It's packed in with 5 games, 5 of these remakes, and then at that point, what do you have left?
Well, I would say this. I feel like that a lot of the people who are behind it, being the older people, I think they know what the risk is they're taking. Okay. I don't think there's a lot of people here who are going to get hosed. And I think that's the good thing. I don't think it's not like the Atari VCS. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people blindly throwing their money at this. I think that they're going to know what they get and what the risks are involved, but that doesn't change its success likelihood.
No. So we got 63,000 for the Ouya. What was the Atari VCS one? That VCS Kickstarter. No, it was an Indiegogo, excuse me. I'm just trying to gauge what the numbers are for stuff like this. And probably this won't do as well as the Atari VCS. It can't because Atari has a name that people want. That did 11,600. I don't think this would do even half of that with the Intellivision name. I just don't. The Intellivision name doesn't really hold any water anymore. Tommy will disagree with me, but I would trust me and Ian's perspective on this at this point, since we don't have a skin in the game here. But if it does 5,000, it'll be a moderate success for a bit, I think.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.